I thought you were a good daughter-in-law, but it seems I was wrong. Leave this house and never show yourself in front of me ever again. Exactly. You're nothing but a parasite. Hurry up, pack your things, and leave. Ever since my husband passed away, my mother-in-law Sarah and sister-in-law Catherine have been hurling cruel words at me, even though I had been tirelessly taking care of Sarah. My husband was concerned about his mother's health until the very end, and yet Catherine would say bad things about him, and I couldn't help but snap back. If you both feel that way, I understand. I'll leave. Upon hearing my words, Sarah and Catherine were overjoyed. However, a few months later, they would come crying and begging to me. The fate that awaited them was far worse than I had imagined. My name is Emily. I am 32 years old and work as a buyer for brand name goods. I met my husband Tom through a mutual friend. Tom was kind and composed, the exact image of the husband I had always wanted, so I didn't hesitate to accept his proposal. Tom's parents were a self-reliant couple, so even as the wife of their eldest son, I had a good relationship with my in-laws and was free from any mother-in-law, daughter-in-law issues. The combination of a generous mother-in-law and a pragmatic father-in-law seemed like a perfect match from my perspective. Tom was concerned about the financial future of his carefree mother, but as long as his reliable father was in good health, it didn't seem like there would be any issues. It's also significant that Tom has a sister who is 2 years older than him. Since his sister is divorced and currently lives alone, I assumed she would probably care for her parents in the future. However, it seemed that Tom didn't quite trust his sister, Catherine.
I'm a bit worried about entrusting our family finances to my sister.
Why's that?
There were some issues in the past.
At that time, I wasn't very concerned about Catherine's past, but later on, Tom's fears would come true. After marrying Tom and spending a few years in peace, his father passed away due to a worsening chronic illness. Since Sarah had always heavily relied on her husband, she was devastated at the time. Sarah, I know it's tough, but let's try to move on. I've always let my husband handle everything at home. I don't know how to live on my own. Indeed, as Tom has said, I was also worried about letting Sarah live alone. Even if I felt that way, the anxiety of Tom, who was her son, must have been immeasurable. And then one night, Tom began to consult to me.
Emily, I have a suggestion. What do you think about my mother moving in with us?
Although it was an unexpected proposal, I had anticipated he might say something like this one day. However, what about his sister, Catherine? What about Catherine? Wouldn't it be better for her as the daughter to live with her instead of us?
I want to take my father's place and take care of my mother's needs. She seems incapable of managing money, so I'll take care of her bank accounts too.
Can't you ask Catherine to do that?
That's not possible.
It was rare for Tom to firmly reject my suggestion.
I want to carefully manage the precious money that Dad left behind, so that Mom won't have to struggle in the future.
While he seemed to feel guilty about imposing the burden of living together on me, Tom was unwavering in his desire to manage the inheritance and savings left by his father. It's all right. I think we can live happily together with your mother. Plus, I'm genuinely concerned about her being all alone as well.
Oh, Emily, thank you so very much.
And so we began our new life as a trio in Sarah's house. True to her word, Sarah had left everything up to her husband. From bank account management to utility bills and credit card payments, she seemed to have no understanding of any of it. Tom managed those accounts separately from ours and decided to provide his mother with a monthly allowance for living expenses. Every time Sarah was about to fall for some shady door-to-door sales or was pressured by acquaintances to buy expensive cosmetics, it was Tom's role to advise her. If he didn't, given her casual attitude towards money, she might just go along with whatever she was told and end up with huge debt. By stepping into the role of her husband, Tom seemed to make his mother happy. Seeing her in better spirits also relieved Tom. Sarah did her share of the housework, taking into account that I was working, and life together was going very well. However, a sudden end came to this peaceful lifestyle. Tom collapsed during work. He had the same disease as his father, and seemed to have overworked during a busy work period, resulting in his hospitalization. Sarah and I visited the hospital almost daily, but Tom's condition did not seem to improve.
Emily, I have a favor to ask concerning what happens after I'm gone.
Don't say that. let's make sure you get discharged and we continue living with your mother just like before.
I had the same disease as Dad, so I was prepared. I need a final favor from you regarding Mom.
Holding back tears, I listened intently to my husband's last wish. A few weeks later, Tom passed away. Dealing with informing relatives, coordinating with his workplace, and funeral arrangements allowed me to distract myself from the grief. Once everything settled, I remembered what Tom had asked of me. There was no time to drown in sorrow. Now I must take on Tom's role and support my mother-in-law. I'm sorry for being so busy recently, Sarah. From now on, I'll help manage the finances instead of Tom. Please, don't worry. I'll properly provide for the monthly living expenses. Emily, are you still going to live with me even though Tom is gone? Of course. Tom always told me to take good care of you. I hope we can continue to support each other. Tom said that. I see. Tears welled up in Sarah's eyes as she spoke. I'm sorry for letting you manage the finances when you're already so busy. It's all right. Being busy helps take my mind off things, so it's actually good for me. However, it seemed that Catherine was not too keen on me continuing to live with her mother. When she found out that I was not only living with her, but also managing the finances, she stormed into the family home in outrage. Why is Emily, an outsider, still lingering around even after Tom passed away? And why is she managing the finances? Doesn't that seem odd to you? Before Tom passed away, he entrusted me with taking care of Sarah and managing the finances. Huh? Are you just conveniently making that up? No, it's truly Tom's wish. Is there some ulterior motive? Do you think you can just use Tom's name to get what you want? Although Catherine wasn't convinced, she withdrew for the time being. However, the following week, she came storming back, fuming with anger. Emily, what do you think you're doing? I saw everything with my own eyes. What are you talking about? You're having an affair, aren't you? An affair? Yes, I saw you entering into a brand shop for men and dining at a fancy restaurant with a man. Are you spending money on your lover? That's not true. I haven't been spending any money on someone else like that. Your excuses won't work. It hasn't been long since Tom passed away and you're already looking for your next man? Don't you have any feelings? Don't you agree, Mother? Influenced by Catherine's words, Sarah seemed to doubt me as well. Emily, so you were doing such things? No, that's not it. I'm just carrying out Tom's last wishes. As I tried to convey the truth, Catherine interrupted me. How dare you mention Tom's name after having an affair? How low can you be? As I got quiet, both Catherine and Sarah glared at me coldly. Sarah then spoke to me. I always thought you were a good, kind daughter-in-law, but it seems I was wrong. I never want to see your face ever again. Get out! Catherine shouted in a tone that sounded victorious. Exactly. Parasitic people like you should just vanish from here. In order not to let Tom's thoughts go to waste, I had no choice but to endure. Out of this determination, I held still. But as if to twist the knife further, Sarah and Catherine hurled more harsh words. Poor Tom, choosing someone like you. Tom has always been easily deceived, you know. Maybe Tom deceived you saying that he'd manage the money, but instead used Mom's money for his own enjoyment. To slander Tom, who had always been deeply concerned about his mother until the end, is something I cannot forgive. Even though I've endured a lot. I can bear them speaking bad things about me, but I cannot accept them insulting my late husband. I'm sorry, Tom, for breaking our promise. I apologized to Tom in my heart as I turned and spoke to Sarah and Catherine. Understood. I'll leave as you both wish. Hearing my words, the two exchanged glances and smiled happily. Finally, got some sense into you, huh? Make sure you leave the bank book behind. Of course. I handed over the bank book of the account where I managed Sarah's living expenses and the account that contained the inheritance from her husband, and then left the house. However, 3 months later, I received a call on my cell phone from Sarah, who I had distanced myself from. Emily, they're telling me I can't make the card payment. Why? Why?
Maybe you overspent and don't have enough balance? Please check your balance using your bank book.
Balance? How'd I check that?
It seems she hasn't changed, still being careless about money after I left. As I thought this, Sarah started yelling at me in anger.
This never happened when you were here. Suddenly after you left, the money's gone. You must have stolen it.
Excuse me?
I can't believe this. Come here right now.
Furious, Sarah hung up the phone. Feeling heavy-hearted, I reluctantly went to her house. When I arrived, both Sarah and Catherine were waiting for me. I entered the house, ignored Sarah, who's angry, and accessed her online banking, checked the balance, and showed it to her. Here's the transaction history for this account. As you can see, while I was managing it, the balance never went negative. Do you understand why?
It's because I saved money, right?
It's hard to believe that you, who isn't good with money, would start saving. In fact, the balance remained positive because I was depositing $1,500 every month as living expenses.
Living expenses? I didn't know about that.
Tom and I have been doing this since he was alive. We decided to combine our funds to cover your living expenses to ensure your savings wouldn't decrease.
Was that so? Tom did that?
Yes, even after Tom passed away, I continued his wishes by paying $1,500 from my own salary. However, since you asked me to leave, I stopped doing that. Then I continued, talking while showing the transaction details to Sarah. Shall we look at the transactions after I left? Seeing more than $1,500 being deducted, it seems there were significant expenses used there.
I don't recall changing my lifestyle.
Then perhaps Catherine might have used it. Saying that, I turned the conversation towards Catherine. Looking at the details, it seems there are card payments at luxury shops and high-end restaurants. I can't imagine Sarah spending money in such places. Catherine, do you have any idea?
It wasn't me.
But I can't think of anyone else who could use it but you.
What about you? Maybe you used it.
Huh?
Did you secretly use a family card or something? After all, isn't it the shops and restaurants where I've seen you before? Even after all this, you're still using Mom's money? How low are you?
Can you stop already? I went there for work. The meals at the restaurant were for a meeting with a shop owner.
Just by saying it's for work, you think you can deceive us?
If you're going to go that far, let's verify it right here. I immediately contacted the shop owner on the spot. Thank you for always helping out. Yes, last Friday. And the item name was... While I was verifying information on the phone, Catherine just stared blankly. Thank you. Yes, please attach that as well. Oh, is that so? After ending the call and checking the received email, I showed the attached image to Catherine and Sarah. The email contained a photo of Catherine shopping at that shop.
What? What is this?
Catherine looked shocked as she saw the photo. It seems the surveillance camera captured you, Catherine, purchasing these luxury goods. When I called the shop owner, they confirmed it immediately. I believe the person in this photo is definitely you, don't you think? Catherine was left speechless. The shop owner also mentioned that recently items matching the ones purchased have been rumored to be brought into pawn shops. The dates and items of the purchases match the ones when Catherine used the card, right?
Catherine's
voice trembled, and it was obvious that she was in confusion. Sarah, with a puzzled look, asked Catherine.
But why go through such trouble? Buying something and immediately selling it to a pawn shop?
Seeing Catherine not willing to answer, I took the initiative. She probably needed cash quickly. If she withdrew directly from the bank account, it would be noticed immediately. So you tried to set me up by shopping at my workplace, trying to make it look like it was me who was spending money, didn't you? Catherine couldn't defend herself and remained silent. Meanwhile, Sarah seemed to have further questions and continued to interrogate the silent Catherine.
Catherine, why do you need so much money? Well, I had to repay some money,
Catherine confessed in a soft voice, but I further elaborated on her statement. You didn't tell Sarah about it, did you? Do you know the reason Catherine got divorced? It was because of her debts. Tom often told me how troubled he was because Catherine would constantly come to borrow money. This has been an issue since before Catherine's marriage. Even after getting married, Tom lamented that Catherine's spending habits haven't changed.
You had to repay money?
Sarah then recalled something.
The money your father left behind. Catherine, I entrusted you with a bank book that had the inheritance in it, didn't I? Don't tell me even that money is...
Upon Sarah's request, I checked the balance of the bank account where the inheritance was deposited. Sarah, the bank account is completely empty.
What? Completely empty?
A few days after I left the house, all the deposits were withdrawn from the account.
No, it can't be.
Sarah, collapsing to her knees, began to yell at Catherine in anger.
What's the big deal? I had to make it to the repayment deadline. My father would have allowed me, his daughter, to use the inheritance however I wanted.
To the stunned Sarah, I began to speak. It seems Tom was right all along. He always said that letting Catherine manage money was dangerous. He probably saw this coming. Sarah cast a stern look at Catherine.
That money wasn't something your father left just for me. You were giving your share of the inheritance, right? You even used someone else's money. You are the one leeching off this house. Leave. We're done. Mom, wait! Didn't we decide that I would live here in Emily's place after she left? If I live with someone like you, I'll end up drowning in debt too. I expect you to return every cent of your father's inheritance.
With those words, Sarah forcefully kicked Catherine out of the house. However, I'm unsure if the outcome was the right one. Ever since then, it seems we've lost all contact with Catherine, and Sarah never received a penny of the misused inheritance back from her. Had she still had the inheritance, Sarah would have been able to live a comfortable life in her old age, but now she lives in poverty and solitude. On the other hand, despite using the inheritance to pay off her debts, Catherine's reckless spending habits remained unchanged, and it seems she has accumulated even more significant debts. Now, without money to repay her debts, she keeps moving from place to place, trying to escape from her loan sharks. Only now I feel like I can truly face the reality of Tom passing away. Though the outcome is different from the last wish I was entrusted with, I believe I haven't done anything wrong. Tom's last words to me were,
"Prioritize your happiness, Emily."
He wanted my well-being above everything else. There was no need to live with Sarah and Catherine, especially when doing so would mean trampling over the feelings Tom had for his family. I believe he would forgive the way things turned out. From now on, with memories of Tom in my heart, I'll take a new step forward.